Burned, a Miraculous Ladybug fanfiction, Part 5. This part's theme is addictive. If you haven't already, make sure you give this video a thumbs up and subscribe to this channel to stay up to date on the latest parts of these fanfiction series. If you're feeling extra generous, please leave a comment in the comment section below to show your support. Now then, let's get burned. Adrian woke up to the smell of rain. It was strange, as it wasn't raining. It wasn't even cloudy. Was the forecast wrong? They were supposed to get rain this week. He went downstairs before Natalie came to wake him up and started breakfast, looking over the notes his piano teacher left him from the day before. At least he wasn't ratted out for missing a lesson. That was nice. You have a free day, Adrian. Use it wisely. Adrian looked up in surprise at Natalie, unaware she was in the room.
Wait, really?
Yes. Your father has some clients meeting him here at the house today. Go use this time to catch up on practice and studying in your room. His room. Right. Of course it wasn't the kind of free day he could spend with friends.
Sounds good.
And Adrian?
Yes?
You already spent last night in the city. Don't sneak out today, or I'll be forced to tell your father. It was suffocating. His heart shriveled as a smile grew on his face.
Okay,
he said. Great. A prison sentence. He slipped back upstairs without finishing his meal, no longer interested in most things. He was stuck inside, after all, so he could sneak food whenever he needed to. There was more than enough to keep him occupied, but the boy was too mentally exhausted to turn to anything. He collapsed on his bed, somewhat frazzled from the short day he had.
Are you going to sneak out anyway?
Plagg asked.
I wish. Something tells me I'd get caught. Besides, I don't want to cause trouble if Father needs me to meet a client. Only for an hour? Or even just the roof?
Adrian glanced over at his friend, knowing he was trying to get him in a better mood.
Thanks, bud.
After spacing out over some new characters, Adrian heard a phone buzz. That's odd. He didn't have any new messages. He flipped through his social media to see what was big enough to trigger an alert, but he couldn't find anything.
Oh, but there's no cheese.
He turned to see Plagg looking at the burner phone. Putting together what happened, Adrian made a mad dash for it. After messing up the passcode twice, he was able to access the messages. Sure enough, Ladybug sent a photo. She posed with some children in a hospital room and they held up the cat toys, grins on each face. His heart squeezed at the sight, and he wished he could make it his background. She messaged me, Adrian whispered, tracing the image with his fingertips.
Yeah, but there's no cheese in the photo, so it's not important.
What could he text back? It wasn't as though she sent a Snapchat, so he could only respond with words? So could he only respond with words?
Looking great, Bugaboo, he typed. Wish I could be there.
He glanced around the bedroom, suffocated as usual. The roof. He could at least go on the roof. Stepping into the bathroom, Adrian transformed into his persona with a mask and scampered up. The air was heavy, and the humidity sealed leather to his back. It wasn't forsakenly hot, but it wasn't perfect weather by a long shot. Are you sunbathing on the roof of the Agreste Mansion? He looked down in surprise at the text Ladybug sent. She could see him?
"There's nothing like the smell of the rich to recharge a man,"
he typed. He heard the sound of her yo-yo before her next text came through. He didn't bother to check it, choosing instead to look up at her as she plopped down beside him. "Taking the day off, kitty?" she asked.
"Escaping house arrest."
What's the phrase? You can take the lion out of the jungle?
Nah, I'm just testing my luck.
And how's that serving you?
Pretty good. Luck brought you to me, it seems.
More like I bring the luck, she said, laughing. Was she investing in his banter? Cat wasn't sure, but he liked it.
So, what about you? Just dropping by to spend time with your boy toy?
Ladybug slugged his shoulder as she laughed, taking a moment to lie back on the roof. He joined her, breathing in the smog city air as clouds passed overhead. She was so quiet he would have mistaken her for sleeping, but he caught her looking at him after 10 or so minutes.
"What?"
he asked. "Nothing. You're just..." she began, trailing off. "You're one of the best people I could ask for in my life, you know?" His heartbeat echoed in his ears.
"What makes you say that?"
"I just don't feel like I tell you nice things enough. Not like stoke your ego things, but how much I appreciate you."
"Well, thank you."
He glanced over and debated how to phrase the next sentence.
"If it's any consolation, I appreciate you too."
"Well," she said, clapping her hands together, "now that we've had that sappy moment, I'd better get on my way."
"Wait!"
Cat had to think fast.
"Do you have the burner phone with you, perchance?"
"Yes. Why?"
"Exploding kittens! Let's play a match or two."
Or 4. Or 9. Or any amount that kept her with him for even a moment longer. Ladybug gave it a moment of thought and sat back down, scooting closer to him. "So, how do I play?" she asked. He spent the next few minutes running through the tutorial with her, noting how close she was to him. He beat her for the first 3 rounds, but once she got the hang of it, she won every game after. He had to wonder how many people noticed them as they laughed together, chilling on the roof of a prominent figure in Paris. He almost didn't care what the repercussions would be, if there were any. Speaking of repercussions, he should get back inside soon. If he were any longer, Natalie would check in on him. She might have already and pretended he was doing his homework, but he couldn't assume she was always on his side.
"We'd better get going,"
Cat said, standing up. She looked at him in surprise. "Wait, you're the first to leave? That never happens."
Was she disappointed? "My lady, I would love to spend all my time with you, and you are a great break from reality, but I must get going."
"All right. I'll see you around then, Tomcat." His heart sank as she turned to leave, despite him being the one to suggest it. Cat reached out instinctively, first grabbing her wrist before embracing her from behind. She raised her arms in surprise, but didn't say anything. He buried his head in her neck, taking a moment to breathe her in before going back to his cell.
"Thank you,"
he murmured, slowly letting her go after a few moments.
"I just needed to recharge."
She was his nicotine, his kryptonite.
Consider us even for the favor you did last night.
She didn't look up at him, but he could tell there was something different. Her tone was soft, and she stepped away delicately. Cat Noir watched as his teenage crush made her exit, barely able to feel his knees. If that's what a hug felt like, there's no way he'd be able to handle a kiss. By the time he detransformed and flopped into bed, Adrian was beat. This was too much for him. This crush was, most likely, at the point of obsession. A person isn't something to get addicted to. That's just setting up for weakness and failure. The way his heart felt when she wasn't there was a crash from the high she gave him. He heard Natalie crack open the door to check on him and rolled over, hoping she would mistake his pouting for a nap. Adrian was at a loss as to what to do, and he felt like he was to blame for his heartbreak. If only he hadn't fallen for her in the first place. If only they led different lives. Thank you so much for listening. Part 6 is on its way. In the meantime, you can check out these other videos for more fanfiction. I'll catch you next time.